They talk about like not masturbating before like a fight or anything like that, or having sex. Do you ever practice that where you're like, nah, not doing this before you get into a fight?
Yeah, I don't masturbate in general.
Oh, me neither. Let's go. Ever?
And
It's just amazing to me that we've gotten to the point now where we have to spud another brother because they're not engaged in this kind of degenerate habit. Like it, obviously, it means we're moving in the right direction, but it's fighting against this narrative that this is normal, that this is something that everybody does, and you can see how rare it is in those kind of occasions there. What's also interesting is the remark Bradley was talking about in respects to kind of vigor, aggression, and assertiveness. There is this very potent narrative going around that. One of the reasons you hear all these stories about fighters abstaining from sexual intercourse and sexual release, Mike Tyson, even I think Jake Paul more recently, I think he had a loss to a fighter, and one of the reasons that he said was because that he had a wet dream, right? And there's a lot of continuity between, or a lot of credence, I should say, between that concept and dropping levels of testosterone, increased, I'm forgetting the term, increased prolactin, which has estrogenic effects. And it means, you're essentially recovering from something that is innately stressful to your CNS, your central nervous system. So that's where that point comes across, really, and there's a lot of weight and evidence behind that.
I don't masturbate. I mean, I have before, of
Yeah,
course.
yeah. How long has it been? It's been a little more than a year for me.
No, I don't need to masturbate because, I could.
Yeah, fair.
I could handle it somewhere else. I don't need to go masturbate.
How long has it been since you
And
stopped?
you're not even supposed to. I'm a Muslim. We're not even supposed to even watch porn. Like we're not
I don't
supposed
watch
to
porn either.
Yeah, I have the greatest respect for men who have found a faith, irrespective of the faith, and have aligned their values and principles with that. One of the things that I tell my clients who are struggling with this particular addiction is you have to come up with a concept that is greater than yourself. Because if you can't have the idea of God, whatever God means to you in your life above yourself, then you place yourself at the top of the value pyramid and you become self-serving. And when you become self-serving, typically you become pleasure-seeking, meaning you always seek behaviors that are fundamentally going to give you the most pleasurable experiences, which is usually wrapped up in this notion of, pornography, PMO, porn, masturbation, orgasm. And it's, very, very detrimental, especially when we've been brainwashed very early on by thinking that this is the only thing that will give us that kind of peaks in terms of pleasure. So it's something I would highly encourage you to do if this is something that you're still having difficulties with in your life. You have to orientate yourself by something greater than yourself. And it can be Islam, it can be Hinduism, it can be Christianity. Whatever it is, I encourage you and implore you to fall in love with that particular value structure, place it above your pleasure-seeking behavior, and you will always orientate yourself around a greater ideal.
But that's good.
Yeah.
But I feel like that fucks your like when I was young, I used to watch porn, and then it like fucks your mind up. Like you can't even give a girl the complete pleasure if you're sitting there watching like people have sex, stuff like that, and you just feel like a creep after that shit. Like
it's weird. Like now that I've stopped, it's just funny because I don't try to talk about this.
You must have just stopped or something.
What's that?
You must have just stopped.
I stopped. It's been about a little more than a year. It's been about a year. But like looking back on it now, like when I was in it, I wasn't thinking. I was thinking like this is normal. Everyone does it. Everyone talks about this as super normal. And then looking back on it now, I was like, what the fuck was I doing? Like basically climaxing to other people on a thing, having sex.
Yeah, you feel like a creep, bro.
It was weird. Now that
This is the real psychic damage you are doing to yourself. And Bradley put it very, very perfectly, in fact, is when think about what you're physically doing when you're engaged in that kind of act. You are framing yourself from the position of a spectator, right? Self-pleasuring yourself to other people having sex, right? You're brainwashing yourself into being a cuck. And I know people don't like that kind of language, but that's the truth. That's the truth. You're framing yourself to get pleasure from the perspective of a spectator as opposed to somebody that's actually participating in that event. And that has huge psychological ramifications. why would you not be the main character in your life? That's what it's affirming to you. And you wonder why I have so much anxiety in approaching women, in getting a girlfriend, in actually meeting somebody and developing a compassionate relationship that's predicated on something higher than pleasure, was because you're framing yourself from a spectator, from somebody that can only seek that kind of gratification by watching, by being an outsider. Psychic damage really is.
Now that I haven't done it, maybe about a month or two went by, and I was like, oh, I don't even want to do this at all.
Yeah.
Like, I had no desire for it.
No.
I feel more level-headed, more clear, like, not that, like, that short
And you
dopamine
give a
release.
girl the complete pleasure. Like, you really, like, you get on for a girl rather than, watching fake shit. Like, porn is not even, like, a lot of porn's not even real.
Fake as fuck.
Yeah, it's not even real.
This is probably one of the most pernicious parts of early introductions into pornography, because I got introduced to pornography when I was very, very young, when I was something like 11, 12 years old. And here's the thing. Most men, most women maybe, but mostly men, learn sex through porn. Is porn sex? Far from it. It misses out on so many crucial elements of the sexual experience, which in my opinion is more of a sacred act than it is one that is solely seeking pleasure. It's a great byproduct. It's a great secondary benefit, I guess you can say. But procreation, pair bonding is something that you don't even... most people, maybe even you watching, have never engaged in some kind of sex that has been for the purposes of bringing you closer together with somebody and releasing the primary chemical oxytocin, which bonds those two people together. Most people just use other people as a sex toy or a sex doll, purely for the gratification of your genitals. That's the truth. That's the state we're living in. So it's really comforting to kind of see guys being a little bit more mature, speaking rationally and transparently and honestly about what the consequences are and how better life looks on the other side of things when you cut this out.